that journey began with a deep, deep desire in my heart to love the world. However, I knew that there were both assumptions made about me and assumptions I made about myself, that I felt that I had already an understanding about equality and fighting for people, for the world. And what I noticed was that when it came to the LGBTQ plus community, I had this endless ability to talk about love, this endless ability to be fearless, this endless ability to dive into myself, to go to Capitol Hill, to yell at the president, "Can you hear me?" Talking about don't ask, don't tell, talking about marriage equality. And then when there was so much racial unrest in this country last summer, I realized that I was having a hard time talking. I was having a hard time knowing what to say. And I realized there was this blockage in me. And people around me were asking me, what do you think about this? What do you have to say about this? Speak out about this. And at first I thought, I don't want to be too technical. I don't want to speed this up. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I want to take my time. And I did some writing. But when I look back on that writing, it was intellectual. I feel like I hid behind concepts, the idea of systemic racism. And what I realized later was that I had to ask myself a much bigger question. What is wrong with me that I cannot have this conversation? What is wrong with me that I am having trouble talking? And I began to do the work myself. The process of unlearning is a work of love, I believe. It's a work of love to yourself, and it's a work of love to the people around you. And I wanted to understand, what am I missing? And Dr. King, I was missing so much. And that unlearning process began with me knowing that I had to start edifying what I believe and being able to really speak about it in a way where I can be strong, rooted in love, rooted in my truth, staying engaged and making agreements with myself. But it took me making mistakes. And it also took me really looking in the mirror and saying, what is wrong with me that I can't talk about this? I dedicate this award to people of color, period. I would like to share a bit about my own racial identity. In sharing some of my own story, I hope to shed light on the necessary discomfort I feel as I change my own beliefs and behaviors about race and social justice. I believe the beloved community is possible when and if people who look like me, other white people, commit to something I call unlearning. In my core, I feel that I am you and you are me. We are each other. Honesty and kindness are values I live by every day, and it is with these values that I want white people to know that tonight, as I talk about unlearning, I am speaking to you. Black lives matter. Black life matters. Blackness matters. Black joy matters. White people, I believe that Black life represents the best of our nation, and as white people, I believe we have a responsibility to unlearn, to accept the honest truth about the history of our country, admit that white supremacy makes us unhealthy, and change our own behaviors to contribute to a world where freedom is real for everyone. White people, I believe we must right our wrongs without shame. We must change our actions, and we must do this for ourselves. This is just one of our roles in the beloved community. To adopt some of Dr. King Jr.'s language, I believe white people must qualitatively heal our insides, and we must quantitatively change our actions and behaviors. When I sang the national anthem at the inauguration this year, the day before, I went to see where I was going to be standing. And I walked in with a bulletproof vest on because we were nervous about being in the Capitol. And somebody said to me, would you like to see the Capitol today? And I said no, because I wanted to get in and get out. And then I went in and I saw where I was going to stand and sing. And I was finished with the walkthrough of the show, which was a beautiful day. But as I was leaving, I stopped myself. And I said, why did you say no, that you don't want to see the Capitol today? And it was because I didn't want to see the place where the insurrection had taken place. And I went back to that woman that asked me, and I said, my apologies, I'd like to see the Capitol. And then I walked through the Capitol like a detective. And I looked for evidence of the truth, because we see these things on screens, right? We witness these things on the news, but to be there in person, I was afraid. Dr. King, I knew in that moment I was avoiding this issue, and I stopped myself and I said, don't avoid it, go look at it and go be with it. And guess what I did? I just walked through and I searched until I found, they said, they told me, they said, you won't find much. We've cleaned up most of it, but I found a window that had blunt force, that was cracked. And I went to that window and I stared at it and I saw the white rage. And I stared at it and I reflected and I thought about what I was about to do the next day. And I thought about what a gift this unlearning was also to myself, that I would take that moment to go there and see it for myself, because that day to me was not about Donald Trump. That day to me was about white supremacy. And it was a day that we could all take our hands and point right at it, where it was crystal clear. These are the ways in which I believe that we all can unlearn. It's when we notice ourselves avoiding, when we notice ourselves colluding, when we notice ourselves not stopping to ask ourselves hard questions. I choose to use the power of my platform to help grow Dr. King Jr.'s beloved community. For me, unlearning is love, not hatred. For me, unlearning is acceptance, not shame. For me, unlearning is the radical honoring of bitter truth, not avoidance of it. White people, I love us enough to say that I believe we need moral healing from holding centuries of unearned power. I want us to accept how we benefit from the systems of white supremacy in this country and then change our actions. I believe that Black, Brown, and Indigenous life matters so much that we can never, ever passively stand by as the historical roots of oppression grow stronger. I have said it before and I'll say what I believe again. Racism is our nature in this country. I love us enough to be honest about this, and I love all of us enough to say no more. I'm not the first person to say this. Systems of white supremacy were designed by humans. They are literally socially constructed, which means they can be dismantled by humans. I believe that one way freedom can be possible is when white people accept that systems of oppression serve us while literally taking the lives of people of color. I accept these systems in all their sinister realness. And I believe white people must take action to change ourselves. Simply by default, white people who look like me are taught that we are fine and everyone else, those other people, need fixing. I invite you to join me in unlearning this American narrative. I invite us to stop asking what is wrong with them and instead relentlessly ask what is wrong with us. My unlearning is a path to healing and love in its most honest, raw form. My unlearning is a necessary invitation that opens the door to real freedom in this country. This unlearning is a gift in my life. With an open, humble, and fearfully optimistic heart, I invite all of us, and especially white people, to join me on the path to a beloved community. I believe that justice can finally begin to be realized, at least in part, when and if folks who look like me commit to a lifetime of unlearning. I love you. Thank you so much.